Welcome, everybody, to our monthly Second Saturday's poetry reading. Those of you who may be new to the program, my name is Dan Kerr, and I have the privilege of being your moderator for this monthly poetry program, moderated by local poet Kathy Donnelly. As I mentioned before, if you would like to participate in the open read one of your poems, just put your name in chat, and we will give everyone who wants to read an opportunity to read. Please keep your microphone muted. We've had a little bit of slippage recently on this, so please, after you read, remember to turn off your mic. So as much as we enjoyed the sound of the alarm clock that we just heard, or not the alarm, the tingling of the bells of the grandfather clock, it would be helpful if you would remember when you're not reading to keep your microphone off. We do believe our strategy here, although Kathy and I have been doing this for, I think it's almost 5 years now, virtually in the wake of COVID, we went virtual. Feedback, we do believe feedback is a gift. So if there's something we did today that you especially liked, if there's something we did today that ticked you off, if there's something you think that we could do better, feedback is a gift. I have a very simple email, danielbkerr@verizon.net. Just shoot me an email and we would gratefully receive any feedback or suggestions that you have. Although we've been doing this for 5 years, we're always open to making it even better. Planned agenda, I'll get you settled in about 5 minutes, get you all, welcome everybody and get you settled. I'll turn it over to Kathy. Kathy will probably generally reads a poem, and then she'll introduce our featured poet, who is Iris Levin. We're very grateful to have her today. Then we'll do the open read, and then we'll bring Iris back for an encore. Kathy will have some concluding remarks, and then she will announce the poet we have in December. This is a poetry program, although and I recognize you're here for poetry, not for evangelization, but I will mention to you there are a number of things that we do at the church that the poets do participate in. So we do monthly concerts. The next concert we have coming up is on December 6th, and that is the new soprano. It's a different soprano this year. That is Alina Tamburini from Stony Brook University. She is the lead soprano that we'll have. And the way Lessons and Carols work, we tell the story of the Nativity, and then after each, and the readings are done by people from 12 different faith communities. That's kind of neat about this, is that it's not just All Souls, it's All Souls in conjunction with 12 other houses of worship in the area. So all the readings are done from either clergy or lay people from the different churches. And then we have, after each of the readings, there is a musical interlude, which could either feature the soprano, it could feature Dan Kinney, who is our organist on our tracker organ, which goes back to before the Civil War. We also have an in-house group called the Brave Trio, who plays some more contemporary stuff. And we also invite the people who are there to sing along with the organist as well. So we have the people sing a couple of hymns. So it's a lot of fun. We generally get a very big crowd. So if you do plan to come, we welcome you. We advise you to get there early. So we do the concerts every month. We do the second Saturdays each month. That happens to be from years ago when we used to do it in the church. You'll recognize Barbara, and you'll recognize Robert, and you'll recognize me, a bigger version of me before I lost weight, and Kathy looking like Kathy and looking quite good in that picture. That's a great picture of you, Kathy. So though we used to do those in the church, we now do those virtually. We also do Native American drumming every month as well. That is our Native American drummer, Rick Stadler. Those of you unfamiliar with Native American drumming, comes out of the indigenous people experience. It's really a spiritual healing experience that's thousands of years old. And Rick is interesting. He is Colombian, not from the university, but from the country. That's his bloodline. And he is not only a very accomplished Native American drummer, he's also a chiropractor. So he deals with the science of what happens during drumming as well. So you want more information on that, just go to the All Souls website, or you can shoot me an email. I'll send you more information on that. Once a year, we combine poetry, music, and Native American drumming, and we call it Conversations of the Sacred. So the pictures that you see are from when we did this past September, September 2025. So you'll see there's the organist Dan Kinney. You'll recognize Rick with his drum. You'll recognize various poets that you from the poetry community up on stage are reading there. And so after each poem, and the poems are all read by the poets, we have a musical interlude either from the Native American drummer, from students from the university, or from Dan Kinney on our organ. So the date for this coming program is September 5th. We get a bit closer, I'll ask anyone who wants to volunteer to be one of the readers, and you'll recognize the list of poets who have participated in that program. And the last thing I'll mention before I turn you over to Kathy is As Kathy mentioned, we used to meet in the church. This nationally, it's on the National Register of Historic Places, designed by Stanford White. Beautiful, beautiful space. We keep it open every day, and I know we keep it open every day because one of my jobs at the church is to open that. And when I open those doors, it's often people waiting to come in. So it's a beautiful place for sanctuary. It's a beautiful place for prayer and reflection. But it's also at the top of a hill. And when we used to meet in the church, Gladys Henderson was the poet laureate. She used to host the program, and she had to stop hosting it because she said, "Kathy, I can't make it up those steps anymore." So that kind of inspired us to raise funds to make the church accessible to all. When Stanford White designed that church, life expectancy in the U.S. was less than 50 years, and as I know many of you, I look out, quite a few of us who, if we had lived in Stanford White's day, probably wouldn't have been here. So Stanford White, when he designed the church, didn't care about accessibility. So what our vision is, let's make the church accessible to all. So once a year, we do the 5K race, 2K walk, and we do two things. We celebrate the role of the church in the community and all the different ways we try to enrich the community. And we also raise funds to make the church accessible. So we've made a fair amount of progress on this. We've now raised over $100,000 for this. We have designed from a architect, a historical architect, what the new design is going to look like. If you happen to be in the All Souls area, just stop in. We've got the rendering from the architect right in the foyer. As you come in, you can see. We do this once a year, and this is picture from the last year. So this was October of this past year. And you'll recognize the two Barbaras. You'll recognize Wendy. You'll recognize Dr. Bronson. You'll recognize Kathy there. So there is a group each year called the Live Poets Society. So this is a group that walks each year in the race, and all the poetry community is welcome to walk with them. And we're still waiting for our first poetry runner. So if anyone wants to run, that's a possibility as well. So on behalf of the folks at All Souls, I welcome you here. We're grateful to have you. And I will now turn you over to Kathy. Kathy?
Unmute here. So I welcome Iris. And Iris, before I read your bio, I read a poem by someone else, and this one grabbed me. It's by Wisława Szymborska. I'm sure you all know this name, yeah? With View with a Grain of Sand. And she writes this incredible poem, so I share it with you now. It's called True Love. True love is it normal? Is it serious? Is it practical? What does the world get from two people who exist in a world of their own? Placed on the same pedestal for no good reason, drawn randomly from millions, but convinced it had to happen this way. In reward for what? For nothing. The light descends from nowhere. Why on these two and not on others? Doesn't this outrage justice? Yes, it does. Doesn't it disrupt our painstakingly erected principles and cast the moral from the peak? Yes, on both accounts. Look at the happy couple. Couldn't they at least try to hide it, fake a little depression for their friend's sake? I think that's so funny. Listen to them laughing. It's an insult. The language they use, deceptively clear. And their little celebrations, rituals, the elaborate mutual routines, it's obviously a plot behind the human race's back. It's hard even to guess how far things might go if people start to follow their example. What could religion and poetry count on? What would be remembered? What renounced? Who'd want to stay within bounds? True love, is it really necessary? Tact and common sense tell us to pass over it in silence, like a scandal in life's highest circles. Perfectly good children are born without its help. It couldn't populate the planet in a million years. It comes along so rarely. Let the people who never find true love keep saying that there's no such thing. Their faith will make it easier for them to live and die. How cynical can one be? Hey? Iris Levin grew up in Oceanside. I'm so sorry. My screen went blank. All right, Dan. Iris Levin grew up in Oceanside and upon marriage became a longtime resident of Rockville Center. After retiring as an early childhood educator, she pursued her love of archaeology, digging in Ireland, England, the Caribbean, Western USA, upstate New York, and Eastern Long Island. Wow. Iris now works at Nassau County in the Photo Archive Center, caring for photos of Long Island dating from 1860 to 1990. In addition, she volunteers with youth in the community, encouraging creative arts and reading. Poetry writing was something she started in high school to express teenage angst, but did not return to writing until 15 years ago when she joined a PPA group and felt welcome to the Long Island poetry community. So that's poetry performance, right? Those PPA, huge group of poets that publish a book each year. Iris has been published in various anthologies, most recently Nassau County Voices in Verse, To Be Completely Honest, Poet Laureate Society Review, Walt Whitman 205, Bard's Annual, Peace, Poetry, and Policy, Dawn Horizons, What Unites Us, Democracy, the Constitution, the Rule of Law, The Avocet. She was also featured at the Oceanside Library Gazebo 2025. She writes to never forget the human experience. Welcome, Iris.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And thank you, everybody, for zooming in. November is here. And with that comes many opportunities with voting, with turning the clock back, with Veterans Day, and of course, Thanksgiving. All my poems that I'll read today will touch on those things. My first poems are concerned with turning back the hands of time, memories. The piano. It wasn't the baby grand, rather a spinet, fitting perfectly in the living room corner, adorned with small statues of Beethoven, Bach. The piano rekindled the memories of her youth. Best years of her life, she always said. Excuse me. She would sit perfect posture, clean hands, glasses perched on her nose, music resting on the stand, Russian melodies, Chopin etudes, her fingers running across the keys, disguising mistakes with flourishes, creating impressive crescendos. As her sight began to fail, as her hands began to stiffen, as her memory drifted, life's joys diminished, as did the music. The piano, Beethoven, and Bach were left to me, and when I play, I smile, recalling her fleeting finger flourishes. The next poem is an immigrant story. Excuse me. Surrounded by broken artifacts, found in the ruins of a tenement, torn down in the name of progress, an archaeologist gently washes a plate fragment, adorned with blue flowers, each crack and jagged edge recalling memories of a Sabbath dish, lovingly packed in the bag of the Jewish mother leaving home with 4 crying, clinging children, confused, anxious, bewildered. 5 frightened pilgrims afloat on strange big waters, long journey in steerage to the land of liberty, to her husband, who cruelly, driven from Shtetl, came yearning to breathe free, lived 3 years on Hester Street, saved hard-earned wages for his family's passage, to come live his American dream. 100 years later, the dream, the tedious journey, continues. It will never end. My next poem is a photo memory of my parents. The moment in time. Their anniversary passes without much fanfare since they passed. It would have been 77 years. She 17, he 20, starry-eyed, smiling, hopeful, innocent. A black and white photo captured that moment in time. Excuse me. She, charmingly beautiful, wavy raven hair, crowned with white floral tiara. Her wedding dress, a modest neckline, exposing her long neck, wearing his mother's pearls lovingly around her neck, and cradled in her arm 6 long-stemmed white roses. He, dashingly handsome, black-haired pompadour, shining with Brill-Cream, freshly shaven face, smelling of Old Spice, his father's pinstripe suit, a bit too big, his freshly ironed white shirt, a bit too wide, his father's tie, a bit too narrow, and his hand gripping hers, silently saying, "I'll never let you go." The next poem is about turning back the clock on a period of time that we should never forget, the Holocaust. Fate of the Left. Under a cement gray sky, heavy with tears, chimneys loomed in the fog. The only sounds heard were yelling of commands, dogs growling, fear silently screaming. They lined up, the displaced, the despised, the dehumanized, waiting to be sent into unknown hell. Some ordered, "Go left." Some ordered, "Go right." No one knowing that those on the left went straight to their death, and those on the right would endure a living death. I like to shop in thrift stores, and they take me back in time, and these are called silent stories. The sign said, "Fill your bag, $1. Adjusting my eyes to dim light, I inhale the smells of memories. I listen for the silent stories each item tells of the who, what, when of someone's worldly goods now for sale. They are piled like ghosts high on a table. Wedding dresses yellowed with hopes and dreams. Fox stole with beady eyes staring, perhaps a gift from a lover. Patent leather purse, part of Sunday church best. Lace hankies with initial M. Is it Mary, Maureen, Marie? White baby shoes, scuffed, worn by many tiny feet. Frayed brown leather belt with many added holes. Maybe times were tough. And a blue chipped mixing bowl, which held grandma's hands making many cakes. As I leave, I smile, filling my bag with many once upon a times. Sometimes the unexpected turns the clock back. Dancing in the kitchen. I heard that song today, the one we danced to barefoot in the kitchen. There were memories, unforgettable memories, cheek to cheek, arms entwined, dancing to the music of our life. That soulful melody, perfect harmony, joyful lyrics of love you refrains. And now those memories are gone, like you, leaving me solo dancing to the humming fridge. And the next one is a little tribute to my dad. It's called Bear Hug. When life seemed so hard for a 5-year-old, I remember finding solace in the muscular, gentle arms of my dad. He would wrap me in the comfort of his hug. Not an easy squeeze, but a strong grip. A bear hug, magically removing fear and sadness, making everything better. And now, in this time of upheaval, angst, and confusion, I sure could use a bear hug to make things better. The election is over, and the results are in, and these poems are about voting and the elections. Another November. Don't walk away from this freedom. Don't say your vote doesn't count. Don't ignore the only way to make change and make things better, not sadder. Vote in every village, town, county, state to pick those who will enact the laws, who will determine your fate. Here is the chance to elect those who will make you say, America is the best ad for democracy. Sometimes, unfortunately, the candidates need a little scolding. Play nicely. Once again, on the election playground, the candidates are misbehaving. Pleading, phoning, emailing, name-calling, blaming, flip-flopping, distorting, misleading, pandering, lying. Will you ever play nicely? Your unacceptable behaviors mean time out, candidates. Time to go to the thinking chairs. And remember, you better behave. November is report card time. The voting booth. Holding my father's hand many Novembers ago, we would walk to the school, to the place Dad said was so important this day, to vote. I didn't understand this thing called voting, only that Dad expressed it as a wonderful freedom, and Dad's serious expression told me it was important. Proudly seeing his name on that voters list, ballot in hand, we entered the voting booth, drew the curtain closed, and Dad filled in the circles for those he chose. And when done, placed the paper in a box. Upon leaving, we each got a sticker saying, I voted. The years have passed, and as on that day in November, I voted, and I got a sticker, and I wear it with pride. This is a little story of Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump. In New York, there lived a man. He wasn't pale, rather richly tan. Donald J. Trump was his name, building hotels, casinos, his path to fame. In business, he made deals galore, outsmarting all, his fortune soared. Trump in gold letters, near and far, he even became a TV star. The day came that this glory wasn't enough. He knew that he had just the right stuff. President, he bellowed, I'm the best fellow. Excuse me. Make America great again, his campaign theme, found on hats, buttons, and vanilla ice cream. I can make changes with ease, he proclaimed. Democrats, liberals, they're all to blame. He gathered his forces, money and fame, made up new rules for the election game. Supporters pardoned every sin, viewed his antics with a grin. Some deplored how he behaved. Others thought, oh, he's so brave. Election day came. He won faults and all. Many cheered and others bawled. And one term just wasn't enough. He came back, rough and tough, full of mean stuff. But remember all, take heart, take note. In 4 years' time, we get to vote. My next poems speak of veterans and Veterans Day. Joining them in Normandy. He rarely spoke of Normandy, of body parts upon the shore, of brothers sinking in bloody red foam, of wondering why, wondering how he came home. But near his end, one last request, scatter his ashes with the bravest and the best. So here I am, box in hand, D-Day forever on the sand. Opening the box, silent voices blow soft gray ashes to the sea. Joining the best and brightest, he is finally free. My father was a vet. And this is a story, a poem about the VA hospital. Your final four, she demands, never lifting her head, never looking at him. He utters the four numbers. Louder, she demands. He reports. She mumbles. Oncology, second floor, still not looking at his face. My dad's handsome face, lined and worn, but still traces of that young soldier who 60 years ago battled the enemy. Now, an old man fighting cancer, his battle ground the VA hospital, not dodging bullets, but the system in a fight for the expensive meds. They owe me, he repeats. I made a difference. We moved down the dimly lit, cavernous hallway. Sounds of wheelchairs, crutches, canes, grumbling voices, echoing silently. We are more than our silent four. They are young, they are old, and as I look at their faces, battered from old and new wars, like Dad, they gave so much. They are owed. I'm interested in the Civil War, and this is about a Civil War photo. He posed for his 10-cent photograph in that portrait studio on Main Street, dressed in blue or gray, feather in his hat, hair neatly parted, boots shined, rifle by his side, young, brave, alive, ready for the battle. This was the photograph mamas carried, girlfriends kissed, wives cherished, children remembered. And for his final pose on the battlefield, he wore a muslin shroud soaked with the nation's tears. At the time of the Civil War, photography was just becoming something that was used, and this was the first war that was photographed. And this is a poem about that. It's called Seeing It All. For the first time during the Civil War, the camera bore witness to the horrors of war. Seen through its lens, the cameras carried from Gettysburg to Bull Run to Harper's Ferry to Appomattox to Antietam were painfully truthful, filming a reliable record of a grim reality never seen before. Now those guns are silent, and dead images in sepia tones, taken by photographers who did battle not with rifles, but cameras, who recorded images in real time. Those photos are now found in books. And today, as 150 years ago, there is still war, and the camera continues to document bloody battle after bloody battle. There are those who are left behind who also serve. The families, those left behind. Why are you walking in the fresh snow between the perfect row of graves, your black coat shielding you? Who are you looking for buried in the cold, dark earth? Husband, father, brother, son, wife, mother, sister, daughter? And where from home were they taken from you? And when did they leave your loving arms? 10, 40, 60 years past, or yesterday, never to return. But you will return, walking in snow, rain, sunshine, missing them forever. Red, white, and blue. I think this Veterans Day I will wear red for their courage, valor, blood shed defending my freedom. White for the fight for tolerance, for honesty, peace in our upside down world. Blue for our never ending loyalty, respect, remembrance of those gone. Yes, red, white, and blue, the colors of our flag, the symbols of the America I miss, the symbols of the America I hope to get back one day, the symbol for which they still fight. And my final poems are about being thankful. The center of life. In the small apartment, the dining table stood in the middle of life's chaos. Oak, solid, reliable, strong like our family spirit during the lean years when I didn't know we were poor. Reality at the table was marred and scarred with life lessons learned, tears of sadness and joy spilled onto, soaked into the wooden veneer, adding and changing the character of the grain, but never changing our togetherness. The apartment is gone, the oak table is gone, the poverty is gone, but the lessons have not lessened, ingrained forever. Thankful words from a survivor, words to remember. 75 years ago, his life was suffering, sadness, horror never to be forgotten. But thankfully, endurance, luck, prayer allowed for wrinkles, gray hair, getting old. And for these words, all he owned when he was freed, words my grandfather told my father, words my father told me, words I tell you, my son, we are still alive. "'Tis a gift to be simple. Home was a haven in my childhood, loving, safe, familiar, sights and smells, the simple gifts that were given without question. Each day returning from school, I would be welcomed by smells of dinner simmering on the stove, Mama smiling, wrapped in her blue apron, ready for small arms to hug wide hips, lips puckered for kisses. Warm cookies and milk, the snack eaten while jabbering about the day, Mama an avid listener. I never knew about the problems. I only knew my young life was rich with those simple gifts. This is a poem about my brother-in-law, who was a pediatric oncologist. Sometimes we are thankful and sad at the same time. The Good Magician. In room 208, the excited child's voice could be heard. Doc Kamen is coming. Wonder what's in his black bag today. Not traditional medicine, for sure, but squirting flowers, decks of cards, scarves of many colors, disappearing coins, all magic tricks that this good magician performed, making fear disappear. That was my brother-in-law, Dr. Bart Kamen, known not only for his achievements, but for the many lives he touched through his compassionate care and warm, nurturing demeanor. For him, each patient and their families were a part of him, educating them, laughing with them, at times crying with them. He delighted in attending the graduations and weddings of children who he had treated, knowing they are leading productive lives because of the everyday work he did. He died at the age of 63 from cancer, the same disease he helped many children fight. The good magician suddenly lost his magic. And my last thankful poem is about memories of Thanksgiving. I remember the warm sun-lit kitchen filled with busy females chatting, laughing, creating the smells and tastes of recipes used only on that day. I remember Grandpa, the only male who dared to enter, wielding his carving knife he sharpened that morning, cutting with surgical precision each moist slice, carefully placing it in heaping layers on the serving platters, ready to be brought to the table. I remember that Thanksgiving table, white candles flickering, Grandma's china and crystal sparkling on the gold tablecloth, white and yellow mums, platters and bowls steaming, Granddad at the head, Grandma at the foot, and everyone else in between, young and old, family and friends, holding hands, giving thanks. I remember Thanksgiving, my forever comfort food. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Iris. That was wonderful. It's amazing. And you told me when we prepped that your poems were generally short. I didn't know you were going to actually fit in 21 poems, but each of them was very moving in their own way, starting with the piano and the head capturing the best years of life and how you sing on and remember your mother's voice. Just beautiful. The immigrant story of looking through the broken artifacts and what they represent, and the photo memory in the memory of time, that young couple, your parents at 17 and 20. And I think I can smell your dad's Old Spice and the Brill cream at the same time. And what a poignant and moving poem on the horrors of the fate of the left, the Holocaust. And we're Jewish or not, we should never forget that. And then walking through the smell of memories, walking through the thrift store, and the little hankies with the initials is something definitely stuck with me. And the dancing in the kitchen, what a beautiful, beautiful reflection. And now the sound of the spouse being replaced with the humming of the fridge, and that beautiful tribute to your dad in terms of the warm hug and needing one right now. And with the elections, your poems about the importance of election and the importance of praying nicely. I remember my father had a favorite expression for politicians. He said they were all phony bastards. And I thought of that when you said they need to play nice, much more diplomatically stated. And then the importance of the voting booth, which your dad explained to you, and how you still take that seriously. And, the poem about what would be one of these readings without a poem about Donald Trump and his emergence from New York City to Washington, and the beautiful, beautiful poem about spreading the ashes at Normandy. I've been to Normandy, and anyone who's been to Normandy cannot help but feel not only that experience, but that beautiful image of spreading the ashes there. And the VA hospital, the young soldier going from fighting the enemy to fighting cancer, very, very poignant. And, what happens to our veterans is something that, is an open wound in many ways. And the beautiful poem about the blue and gray and the contrast between the young soldier standing in his crisp uniform and the polished shoes, and that being the photo that was carried in the reality of his last scene, covered with a shroud and soaked in the country's tears, and seeing it all. The ability of the cameras. I remember, as a kid watching the Vietnam War on TV, and that's when the Vietnam War was lost, when they brought it to the living room. And the people left behind, and the woman walking through the graveyard. Anytime any walk through a graveyard, I remember with my brother, the general, walking through the wall in Washington, and him pointing out names of people that he remembered who had died in his 2 tours of Vietnam. That brought back that memory, and the true meaning of the red, white, and blue. Beautiful, beautiful poem. And then closing, is so thankful, so glad you closed with poems of Thanksgiving, and the dining room table in the center of chaos, and the words of thank you in terms of the person living long enough to get wrinkles and gray hair. It gives you a different perspective. I think there's an old saying, don't complain about old age. It's a privilege denied many. And the smells for dinner, you can still smell those smells, and the warm cookies and the milk, and the wonderful poem about your the magician who came with the child looking forward to what was in his box. That was just beautiful, and just concluding with the beautiful memories of Thanksgiving. You've given us a real gift, and we're very appreciative, and we look forward to you coming back in the encore.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move into the open read, and we have some folks that are new, so it's probably good to reference whether you like the Charlton Heston reference or not here. These are our guideposts with regard to the open read. Please, only one poem. Please, no poem more than 5 minutes, and we do keep track of time here. Please keep your microphone muted, so remember to turn it on when you read, and perhaps more importantly, remember to turn it off. And remember to wait to be called to be read, and I'll let you know well in advance. And what I'll do is I've kept track of the people who've asked to read, and don't worry if you're not on the original list. We'll find a way between Kathy and myself to get everybody on it. If you haven't yet put your name in there and you want to read, put it in chat. And if you're chat challenged, like our good friend Marvin, don't worry, we'll get you all in there. So the first group of three is Marvin, followed by Nicola, followed by Sylvie. So Marvin, as always, as generally is our practice, we'll start with you, Marvin.
Okay, could you hear me?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Okay, the first poem is called All Gone. They are all gone. The nest they left makes the pyramids simple. Their stitched twigs under the eaves, engineering marvel. The 5 tiny mouths had reached for sustenance of another day. Older robins searching for food are no longer seen, not even heard. A family exodus. The 5 taking off, fluttering wings, unsure, but no bird left behind. Perhaps eggs will hatch again in the great construction, and mouths arise to new tomorrows.
Thank you, Marvin. Okay. Next is all the way from the UK, we have Nicola.
Right, okay. I This is not the one I was going to read originally, but I've changed my mind. It's the second one in a quartet called The Way of the Pilgrim that I wrote. I did the first one all months ago here, so this is part 2, Praying at the Tomb. To pray at the tomb you must go down, past the vast expanse filled with tourists smelling of sunblock, women covering bare shoulders out of respect, well supplied with shawls by gypsies in the square. Overhead the great censer hangs, cold, quiescent at this time. No haze of smoke carrying prayers to heaven, no incense hiding the odour of unsanctified humanity. In quietness I approach the tomb. The air is closer here, footsteps muffled, a sense of intimacy inviting contemplation, the calm of Compline in a country church. Then I hear the cadence of the north, a couple speaking in my native tongue, somehow out of place here, though all are welcome. They seem lost, bemused. What's happening? Who's down there? Quietly I take them aside. I tell them of the Son of Thunder, St. James the Great, Apostle of our Lord. They thank me politely and turn away. As they leave, I hear one say, "Is that all? I thought it must be someone famous." Thus does the empty cult of secular celebrity intrude. All is still again. A moment out of time, I gaze down upon the tomb of this ordinary man. Abandoning his nets, he walked with the carpenter from Galilee, was present when bread was broken, wine poured out, bore witness to the risen Lord, and so his life was changed. A blessing as the fire burned bright, a burden as the world gave scorn. Ridiculed, persecuted for his faith, an object of hatred, as others are today. Have we learned nothing? Fallen humanity choosing to repeat the same mistakes, following the same twisted and deceitful path. My thoughts in turmoil, I pause, breathe deep. Anger drains away, peace engulfs me, slowly, like the rising tide, a link, perhaps, with the divine. Bowing my head, I ask the saint to hold me in his prayers.
Thank you, Nicola. Well done. Okay. Sylvie, over to you. Sylvie, you got to turn your mic on. Okay, we'll give her another second, Sylvie. Okay, we'll come back to Sylvie. Sylvie, there you are. I can see you. You just got to turn your mic on. You're trying. Okay. Should be near the bottom of the screen. There you go. You're worth waiting for. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've never done a Zoom on my iPad. I do it on my computer where I have my mouse. Okay, so my poems tend to be observations of the world, and this one is from a book that I published, a small anthology of my work. It's called 8:10 to 8:25 a.m. The day after Labor Day. The drenching rain is a welcome sight. From my second-floor bedroom window, I watch a few cars come down the street. They're heading for the elementary school around the corner and down the block. Within minutes, the parade becomes 3 lines of vehicles merging at the corner and crawling in the same direction. Headlights illuminating the drops, wipers swishing back and forth, waiting to release their precious cargo. A large gray truck pulls up, makes a U-turn, and parks across the street from my house. The dad emerges, opens the back door, and a boy and a girl with backpacks jump out and start to walk. Some parents and children walk briskly on the sidewalk in single file, brightly colored umbrellas over their heads, sneakers splashing in the puddles. The man from the truck returns alone, shakes out his umbrella, and hops into the driver's seat, but doesn't pull out right away. A mom half runs with her young son, their dog pulling so hard on the leash, she has to lean backwards to stay upright. 10 minutes have passed, and still the cars come, bumper to bumper, patiently waiting their turn, taking the places of the ones that came before. The woman with the eager dog returns, no longer being dragged, but now in control, her son safely deposited at school. Eventually, there is more space between the cars, and they move more quickly down the street. A woman walking a large dog suddenly stops, turns around, and goes back the way she came. The man in the truck finally pulls away from the curb. A second woman walks her small raincoat-clad dog. As the pouring rain begins to let up, the line of cars that had started as a trickle and swelled to a mighty river returns to a trickle and disappears between 8:10 and 8:25 a.m. the day after Labor Day.
Thank you, Sylvie. Well done.
Thank you.
Next group is Sherry, followed by JR, followed by Dan Kerr. So Sherry, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dan and Kathy, for hosting this and giving us all this opportunity. And Iris, I was just so moved by the spectrum of art that you shared. You have a very beautiful way at connecting with the heart. And of course, I'm enjoying everybody's open read. This piece is called Shadow Painting. Brash as whipping rain, the wet leaves smacked against window panes. A lanternfly swarm. Each wet leaf painted the wide bay window, presenting an autumn stained glass scatter of browns, yellows, purples, reds, oranges, and biolage green, and with red trim decoupage. Setting the leaf burst into a fire kaleidoscope escape. And for a moment, the storm outside forgotten, in a mind drift envisioning a child's gaze on a drive climbing up the white mountains during peak fall foliage season, possibilities painting promise in this wonder. Then the power went out. The lost view to the outside due to the now leaf wall turned colorless silhouette, with the nor'easter's wrath on the trees and bushes and plants, discarding their branches and trees and yards, felt both a sheltering safe nest and a suffocating trap, in wanting the glass painting to linger, and yet wanting breath back and windows to the world freed. Anxiety eased with specks of light peeking through the leafscape, seen in those prismatic waves, spilling through tiny raindrops, slipping down the window pane with a sunray beam peak. Nature confirming. The blight and fight and unknowns faced now will experience spectral lights too, with renewed understanding. If fear and hope can share the same space at the same time, maybe, just maybe, we will find beauty in each other again too. Thank you.
Hey, Sherry, and thanks for that beautiful concluding thought there. JR, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kathy, keeping us in poetry. Thank you, Iris. Oh my gosh, this was wonderful. Iris actually featured for me last Saturday for PPA in East Meadow, and oh my gosh, live and Zoom, wonderful. Thank you, Iris. The thrift shop. Oh, I always pick the one favorite. Oh, that thrift shop poem is beautiful. So yeah, I'm going to be finally. I'm going to give it an official launch. My new book, Healing Souls. 24 poems written in a 24-hour poetry marathon, all about shoes, glorious shoes. And so we'll play poetry roulette. So Iris, please pick a number from 1 to 24, and that's what I'll read.
Okay, I pick number 8.
8.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Number 8. Theory of shoe buying. Shoes, glorious shoes. How can any woman resist them? Owning more than a few pair, even a multitude of pairs, seems reasonable to me. A closet bereft of enough black, red, blue, green, white, purple, enough pumps, sandals, boots, open toe, zip up, lace up, never enough stilettos, flip flops, muglocks, work boots. You can never go wrong with a sale. Few people know the truth. Even I wasn't sure until my hubby explained the theory of shoe buying to me in simplistic terms. Women buying shoes is inherent, an underlying need to have, to possess, own, glory over, show off to friends how great the bargain, even if a size too small. You never complain when a pair of stellar shoes reside in your closet, even stashed under the bed or left in the car trunk, as there is little room in the closet for another pair, even those puce boots. If we didn't buy the shoes, then another woman would. Oh, that will never happen. May the shoe gods supply you with the means to have all the shoes, even the pink polka dots. And may other women remark in jealousy they wish they had found them first. And this is an acrostic, and it reads down: shoes are on my feet, but they are laced to my heart. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Iris.
you. That could find a home in the Emile de Marcos collection, I'm sure. So well done. Okay, this next poem is very short, unlike most of my poems. And Kathy and I agreed that we're here for poetry. We're not here for evangelization. But one of the things we do at the church every Wednesday is my wife leads an interfaith rosary. And many people think Roman Catholics are the only ones who do the rosary, and that's not actually correct. We combine the Roman Catholic, the Greek Orthodox, and the Episcopal tradition into a rosary. So have a particular focus on the Virgin Mary. And this poem is simply called Mother Mary. Here goes, Mother Mary. A teenage unwed mother escaped the sentence of stoning by her culture and delivered salvation to us all. Did you ever wonder why her cousin Elizabeth said, "Hail Mary, full of grace, and blessed are you among women"? Maybe it was the same reason God sent the angel Gabriel to ask her to be the mother of his son. Mary carried Jesus in her womb, delivered him in a stable, and stood at the foot of the cross as he was crucified. Before Jesus breathed his last breath, he presented Mary to the Apostle John as his mother. And at that point, Mary became the mother of us all. Hail Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Okay, so next group of 3 is Claude, followed by Sylvie, followed by Sandra. Claude, over to you. Claude, remember to put your mic on. Give Claude a second.
You got it?
Yep, you got it.
All right. So, Iris, I voted. See, this is what we get in Georgia when you vote. And the inevitable talk about recounts, is going to come up. The person who does the recounting is a recounter. Then there are raconteurs, and then there are people like Mr. Dan Kerr, who is a recounter, the great recounter. So this poem is dedicated to you, Dan, in admiration. It also has a little reference to that poem about Charlie Kirk and the myth of Tyler Robinson killing him. Recounter. He summarizes the story, the sequence of events, taking notes as the poetry progresses, as the featured poet presents her visions and personal tales. He describes what happened, how the tragedy transpired, how he ran the race, finished it, feeling inspired, sharing his thoughts and emotions, his expectations and doubts. From his many responsibilities, he has learned to be efficient with his time, quickly narrating his impressions of the presented poems with a respectful delivery, infused with humor and amusement. He able to faithfully recount what already has partially slipped from our cogitating minds. He delivers his own historical poems, often from a religious perspective. He, the producer, the director, the technician, keeping everything organized, telling us to unmute our microphone when we dizzily forget to. Before we read, concentrating intently on the moment as we perform under his guidance. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Claude. Try to live up to that. Sylvie, over to you.
Okay. First of all, I want to apologize that I had to leave for several of the poems. My daughter is still in the hospital and she called, so I had to take the call. A lasting lesson. I felt the sting of righteous indignation long before I knew that emotion even had a name. Kindergarten, a place for discovery and fun. I was a shy, respectful, and obedient child, except for the day when the class was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, in a semicircle, listening to Miss Weber read a story. My friend Susan leaned over to me and whispered something in my ear. I turned to shush her. We had to be quiet. The teacher looked up, pointed at me, and told me to go stand in the corner. I started to tell her I was only trying to get Susan to stop talking to me, but she wouldn't listen. She told me again, more sternly now, go stand in the corner. Eyes wide, I shook my head. No. Miss Weber got up from her chair and came over to me. For the last time, go to the corner. When I continued to sit there, paralyzed, she picked me up and started to carry me to the dreaded corner, a punishment I didn't deserve. In total disbelief, a blind panic seized me. I grabbed her big black eyeglasses and threw them onto the floor, astonishing both of us. I had tried to explain, but she wouldn't let me, so my hands expressed my rage. I spent the rest of that day in the corner of the classroom next door, banished and ashamed. All the other kids saw what I did. Would I be allowed back in class? Did I even want to go back? I do not recall my parents' reaction, or if I broke the glasses, or if Miss Weber realized she'd made a mistake and later apologized. I know only that this is my sole memory of kindergarten. Thank
Powerful
you.
memory. Sylvie, thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Sandra, over to you. Sandra, you got to come off mute. Got to turn on your mic. There you go.
There we go. All right. Iris, thank you. Thank you for giving us much to ponder and remember and to feel in some small way what you have felt. Speak up. Speak now. Speak words to be heard. Let them resonate. Speak with confidence, without hesitation. Speak with justification. Offer insight. Speak with patience. Express understanding. Speak with courage. Instill resilience. Speak with respect. Exhibit integrity. Speak with honesty. In volumes or with brevity. Speak with passion. Share inspiration. Speak with humility. Garner trust. Speak with knowledge. Extend enlightenment. Speak with consideration. Foster tolerance. Speak with sincerity. Render hope. Let your words resonate across the land, across the room, across the street. Speak up. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Well done. Okay, the next group of three is Wendy, followed by Virginia, followed by Don. And don't worry, Mike, I didn't forget about you. So Wendy, followed by Virginia, followed by Don. Wendy, over to you.
What a wonderful group of poets, and thank you for all your readings today, especially our feature. This is called The Lesson of the Fig Tree. A nor'easter was on its way with heavy rains and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Went into my backyard to secure things. Garbage pails placed behind house, small planters placed in a secure place. The small trees were on their own. I moved into my house over 40 years ago. I had 3 mature fruit-bearing trees, an apple, a pear, and a fig. Thinking a tall tree was a healthy tree, I let the pear and apple grow taller and taller. The apple and pear trees grew spindly tall, finally realized they needed to be trimmed. The fig somehow took care of itself. First, the apple tree succumbed to a winter snowstorm. Then the winds of many storms beat the pear over. The fig, with its resilience, grew bigger and bigger. Our nation right now is being battered by winds from the left and from the right. We have survived the winds of past storms. Our country is like the fig, resilient. If history repeats, we will survive this storm too.
Thank you, Wendy. Very timely. Okay. Virginia, over to you.
Okay. I'm going to squint a little bit because I didn't have time to put this in big print. Iris, I love the dining room table poem, the poem about your brother-in-law, the father hug, a really wonderful imagery and evocative, all of them. And this poem is called Daily Awe. How can we bear all this daily awe? The petal of the lily before it falls, the throat of the hummingbird flashing, the shadows lacing the lawn's densities, These beauties hold us in place even when we wish to flee the disappointments that crown the same days of eternal awe. Winter light, moonlight, firelight, all dazzle. The darkness of crows, the hardness of stones, the winds that carry away all the blossoms of a day, the salty embrace of the sea, the muck of lake, the lamp in the night leading us home. A plan takes us forward as we swirl through that we can change and what changes us. We find the eternal in the inescapable rush of our senses held fast by daily awe.
Thank you for that. Well done. Okay, Don, over to you.
Hi, everyone. This is from Trouble in Our Land. Recent poem. Will I see you at the protest? Years ago, helmeted police came with batons, beating protesters. Fire hoses knocked people down. There were dogs. And burning tear gas was in the air. The people demanded their civil rights. Jim Crow goons fought back. They killed 3 freedom riders. The folk singers sang, "The times they are a-changin'." And they did somewhat. Vietnam brought the people out in protest. Helmeted police came, beating the protesters with batons. The folk singers sang, "The masters of war, and we ain't marching anymore." It turned out the government was lying to the people. The war ended. Did I see you at the protest? Do you remember a college protest at Kent State, Ohio? Probably not. It was over 50 years ago. The National Guard was there with bayonets. Several students were killed. No rubber bullets then. It seems if the protest is big enough, millions protesting, things change. The war ended. Now masked ICE squads come to grab brown-skinned men with tattoos, send them away. Their families don't know where. Kidnapping was a crime, I thought. Will you join me at the protest? There might be masked police with helmets and batons. There might be National Guard with bayonets and rubber bullets. Democracy dies in silence. Crimes are overlooked in silence. Will I see you at the protest? Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Mike Daly, representative from North Carolina.
Good morning. This poem is called Another Picture of Jesus. I was driving down the road on Tuesday morning when a thought popped into my head. Did Jesus ever grin? That sounded like a lead into a poem to me, so I had to sit down and write it. So did Jesus ever grin? Or is that a part of him that Bible stories never told? Perhaps there was a rumor about a sense of humor that just didn't make the fold. Did he share jokes with his buddies? Or are they all just fuddy-duddies, too serious to ever break a smile? Did they ever just have fun with the one who was the one? Or maybe that just wasn't then in style. I'm sure with all he knew, there was a joke or two about the Pharisees and lives they led. Did he ever speak of laughter? Or was that just the here and after? Or were there some joyful stories that he said? So think about the man he was and all the things a young man does. You know, there were times he felt the need for he and his young staff to make somebody laugh, and knowing him, I'm sure they did succeed. Well, I'd like to think he grinned a lot, in spite of all that grief he got, and maybe even giggled now and then. But those stories never made it. Perhaps the early church forbade it. I hope I can hear them in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well done. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to put into gallery here. So I'm all looking at all you like the Hollywood Squares view here. I think everyone who's put their name in chat has had an opportunity to read. Is there anyone who wants to read who hasn't had an opportunity to read before I call upon Kathy? Okay, Janet? That's Joyce, rather. Joyce, go ahead. Joyce, you come off mute. You can read. Anyone else other than Joyce? I see you, Joyce. Janet, I'm sorry. I got you. You were right next to Joyce. So Janet, okay, Janet's the only one. So how about Janet followed by Kathy, and then we'll go back. Okay.
I'm okay. I don't need to read today.
Okay, Janet, over to you.
Hi, thank you guys so much. This is my first time reading some of my poetry live, so thank you so much for this opportunity. This is a poem I wrote last year called Keep Walking. Green trees and wind breeze, hearts united and minds quiet, hands held and breath even. There's a calming wind of change. Music playing with your mood, food improving your mind, friends buzzing around. There's something clearing up. Games messing up your tender moves, names coming to haunt you. Dunes of sand fall through to reveal the work that time has wrought. There's greatness to be embraced. Sadness tempting your hearts, fighting to stay up and moving. Giving all that place you call home, giving your all to that place you call home. There's something you're hiding. Being real to others and not yourself, vanishing before the clock strikes 12. Alluring others to your success, just to hide. There's something eating you up. Arriving home exhausted to find you've set yourself a table, managing everything thrown your way, bathing yourself in money to help the rest. There's a storm coming. Hail falling down, rain softened hair, nerves centralized. There's calm in release. Air in, raises your head, the sigh of relief. Feet touch the ground. There's a next step. Moving forward to find yourself opening up to the vulnerability of living in love. There's a clearing for your soul to land. Home, sweet home.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Hope you'll read for us again. Okay. Okay, Kathy, over to you if you'd like to read something.
And we did catch everyone, correct?
We did, yes.
So, Iris, I want to just tell you of an experience that I had quickly. I was raised one way, only to learn that my mom, being adopted, was actually Jewish. And so it was a realization that all of the things that happened in World War II, had I been there, I would have, wound up in a prison camp, most likely. So I wrote a poem to the Polish experience, and I hate to say there's parallels with parents being separated from children now in this country, tragedy. But here's a story that I contrived from all the exposure to the information of those days. It's called On a Farm in Poland, 1939. Horses graze in an open meadow. Cows milked for the breakfast table, still warm, borscht, groats, potatoes, wholemeal rye. Sarah and Simon spend summer days climbing trees, chasing butterflies, collecting dandelion for Mama's tea, Tata's wine, fireflies in evening light. Horsetails swat flies away, sun shines, clouds drift, children play without a care. No one taught them suspicion, caution, fear of strangers, when to hide. When two men in uniform drive down the dirt road along their family farm and wave to them, beckon them to come, they do. Lifted to the back of a truck, friends recognized from their Talmudic school, a comfort. Talking, laughing till brought to a camp, fate unknown. Butterflies flit on hot summer air. Dandelions light up an open field. Horses whinny, rest their muzzles on each other's back. While Mama sets the table, milk and bread, calls out for them to come in from play before sending them to their room for a nap.
Thank you, Kathy. Very poignant.
The other one thing I wanted to say to Iris was, it's amazing how no matter what you're going through, the children are so clueless. They're so innocent. And you mentioned that in your poem, and I couldn't agree more. Worlds of their own. So Iris, thank you so much for your read. Beautiful, just beautiful.
Let's bring Iris back for an encore. Iris?
All righty. Thank you, everyone. You've been a wonderful audience, and I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. My last poem is called A Happy Place, and it's a place I'm thankful for. We had a cabin on a lake, and we don't have it anymore, but the memories of it were always thankful and made me happy, especially in the changes of the seasons. Happy Place. Sitting on the deck, wrapped in a blanket, hot tea in hand, day is ending in my happy place. Late afternoon light turns golden on the lake. I smile, seeing remaining rays play hide and seek with tree shadows reflected in the water. Etched across the darkening sky, the rolling mountain backdrop goes on forever. Perfect setting for the evening chorus. Owl hooting in the red-leafed maple, water lapping at the deserted shore, breezes rustling dry marsh reeds, tree frogs serenading in harmony. As twilight twinkles, summer memories float away, making room for autumn's glorious keepsakes. And with a sigh, I thank Mother Nature for another season in my happy place.
Thank you, Iris. Well done. Kathy, over to you for final thoughts and to announce the next poet.
So we will have Milva Lewis. She's a up and coming poet, someone who seems to have come to it a little bit later in life, and a charming writer and reader. We look very much forward to seeing her next month. I hope you can make it. Second Saturday, same time. And there's something else I'm going to mention, excuse me, to everyone, which is that second Saturdays, we are overlapped, if we run past 12, by Building Bridges with George Wallace, who's the first poet laureate of Long Island. So if you haven't had enough poetry for the morning, switch over to the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, Building Bridges, and it'd be 2 more hours of poetry. More people from around the world, actually, with George. So I must recommend it to you.